In this modern era of building organizations, in a very complicated social fabric and culture which every organization will be facing in its expansion process, it has to concentrate on the role of learning and development, which is very important branch for an organization in order to develop, starting from ethical base to the intellectual capacity to the cadre available in the organization. Here, my purpose of talk is to emphasize that learning and development must go and explore beyond the psychological realm. It must go beyond technological frontiers. Develop innovative path. Develop a drive for innovative path. Develop a drive for thinking. Develop for a drive for critically thinking. Develop a drive to work dedicatedly on the instructions given by the CEO about a particular project or a phase or a general administration of the organization. Here, the learning and development must create an ethos which is suitable to the organization, the nature of the business of the organization, and at the same time permanent values, human values, the commitment, the dedication, integrity, and all important ethical aspects of the behavior of a worker, behavior of an organizational employee to develop a base to enhance their capacity in these aspects is the broadly job of the learning and development. Engaging today's talent is the job of HR, but this talent has to be converted into a very highly human value based and ethical based structure. That's where the role of learning and development will come to inspire them to do their job with best skills, but best ethos also, best ethical base also. To build the talent, you need a great effort by learning and development. The role of learning and development is enormous in this particular aspect of the organization. In brief, the main purpose of my talk here is the importance of learning and development in modern organizations with the consideration on strategic learning and development, which shows L&D is aligned to the business strategy and the characteristics of L&D strategy. Process of learning and development, which deals with how people and organizations learn, the concept of learning organization, the different forms of L&D activities, the practice of learning and development, identifying L&D needs, encouraging and supporting workplace learning, planning and implementing learning programs and events, evaluating L&D, learning and development and management organizations and businesses. These are the primary jobs here. The leadership attached to L&D, a wing L&D, must be led by a people of all experience with a total comprehension over in general not only on the learning process, learning methodology, learning pedagogy, but also the contemporary learning levels and the contemporary evils which are being intruded into the organization and killing the base of ethics. In order to build up ethics, there is a bigger role for learning and development branch of any organization. I will introduce in a brief way because this is a vast subject. Learning and development approaches and practices as described purpose to be certain that individuals within the institution collect and boost the knowledge, competencies, and potential they need to perform their work easily and develop their careers to their possesses empowerment and of the group. It is acknowledged the term human resource development retains its popularity among academics, but it has never been attractive to the practitioners. Why? Because the role of HRD, the leadership of HRD, unless it is built brick by brick, duly aligning the job of learning and development, which is normally headed by HR head or even a CEO or even a person with all intellectual basis and courage to say what is black and what is white. That is very important to entrust this learning and development branch for a review. If we entrust this job to a normal person with normal level of knowledge and comprehension, he cannot guide L&D, and finally he will kill the L&D and it will become just a nominal structural base in the organization. Beyond that, it cannot do any job. Human resource development minimum practitioners, they say, despite the fact that the two phrases are just about the indistinguishable, they are indeed most often used interchangeably through commentators and practitioners, this HRD, and it is a fact also. Normally, L&D will be headed by HR head of the organization. Learning and development. The next definition, strategic HRD produced could serve equally well as a definition of strategic L&D. Strategic human resource development involves introducing, eliminating, modifying, directing, and guiding processes. I repeat these sentences, which is very, very important for every HR person and L&D person. The activity involves strategic human resource development, introducing, eliminating, modifying, directing, and guiding the process in such a way that all the individuals and teams are equipped with the skills, knowledge, and competencies they require to undertake the current and future tasks required by the organization. Here, the role of executives come into the play. Several branches of executives of technology or finance or whatever it may be, they have to first of all estimate what they require, what competencies they require. Then they have to communicate to the L&D. Then L&D will chalk out a phase of program. So here once again I repeat, they are required to undertake current and future tasks required by the organization. Estimating that future tasks and current tasks, evaluating and the methodology required is the job of an executive. Then if he enters the job to the L&D, it will definitely formulate its own policy in order to develop the points emphasized and cherished by various HODs leading various departments in the conglomeration of an organization. Organizations want men and women with high phases of potential, knowledge and competencies. It is quintessential to make certain that any steps taken to meet the need or business led in the experience that they are founded on figuring out of the strategic imperatives of the business and aid the fulfillment of these targets. This is where R&D, that the L&D learning and development plays a role in giving potentialities, in giving competencies, in elevating the capacities and abilities of the group or in general the workforce of the organization for which the L&D is working. Progress is the result. Progress is the ultimate parameter for the learning and development branch of an organization. Any group will be more satisfying and hence attractive place where in work. That making L&D attractive to work depends upon again the leader who is heading it and the top brass who is monitoring the L&D functioning. A top brass who is monitoring the L&D function has never an idea about learning, the depth of learning, the scope of learning, the inner core of the learning process or pedagogy, learning and development. No meaning at all because he can never monitor, and at times it is possible he may not be in a position to understand what an L&D expert is communicating with all bitterness. Then he may say this fellow is not useful, that fellow is not useful. Finally he may give a note to the top man, top brass, top management that better to wind up this L&D. That fault and that false step definitely is the step taken by a bad step taken by the top brass of an organization. So an organization should have a clear idea a clear policy, a clear purpose at which the organization has to define and craft its message to learning and development wing, in what way it has to function, what is the strategic potential they require through learning and development. It includes facilitating the acquisition by a way of contributors and teams of skills and abilities through expertise, finding out hobbies and programs provided by means of the group, guidance and coaching offered with the aid of line managers, and others, and self-directed learning hobbies applied through members. Creator defined finding out and development more extensively as follows. The primary motive of learning and development as an organizational approach is to aid collective development through the collaborative, expert and moral stimulation. Once again, I use these two words which are very important. Through the collaborative, expert and moral stimulation and facilitation of finding out and knowledge that support trade goals, improve person knowledge, and recognize and construct on diversity. So finally, what I want to impress through my talk is that wider context of the learning and development has to be decided by the top brass, preferably chief executive. Normally, chief executives will never have time enough to interact with a normal L&D people. If he is entrusting the job to a particular individual or a particular leader of HR, the CEO himself must evaluate the learning level, the learning potential of a person for whom he is entrusting the job of monitoring the learning and development. If it is entrusted to a substandard fellow who never read a book, who never knew what is learning, what is the depth of the word learning, what is the scope of learning, that L&D will vanish or it will become most useless wing of the organization. So it is the top brass, it shall have a comprehensive idea and objective. They have to define the purpose and craft a message to the learning and development wing, what is exactly they want from it, and it has to be monitored on those angles only. Whether you want only technical potential or human values, developing worker as an integrated worker with an integrated personality. If a worker is transformed into an integrated personality, that is an asset to the organization. That process of transformation, transforming an ordinary manager into a worthwhile commodity, not as a commodity mere, but a personality, an integrated personality to the organization. Definitely that the L&D work will be successful. So it is very essential now in these days to concentrate on learning and development for achieving not only technical excellence but beyond technical excellence, thinking beyond technology, building a personality, building an integrated personality in an organization with all ethical base, and that ethos and the culture to be prepared. That is the job of learning and organization. If L&D is taken into consideration like any other branch and leaving it and throwing it on the shoulders of a person, he never opened even a contemporary business magazine, I feel sincerely that is a very useless effort in building. Maybe exhibiting L&D, oh, our organization is also having an L&D. My emphasis or my anguish is every organization should not neglect this branch of L&D. They have to develop it, they have to nourish it, they have to define purpose, they have to craft their message to the manager circle or workman circle and develop the organization as an integrated personality. Organization itself shall be transformed into an integrated personality. Then the organization will reap the benefits of learning and develop. That development process will take place in all balanced way. Thank you very much.